So I'm just going to summarize that because I understand that I guess I'm more interested in you all um, attributing information or getting information from primary sources. That if you also find some information in the source that you um, first find, you find some information in their introduction or their background that you think is valuable to like a discussion or to an assignment, um, go ahead and look for those sources that are cited for the information in the introduction and background. And as long as those sources are not older than 10 years, so 2016, then they're fine to cite for that information.
So we don't
Because
have to worry about citing the original article that I found. I just need to cite the actual primary source where that information came from.
yeah, so I can show you an example. Um, and I don't know if it's going to have the right dates or not, but we'll see if I can get my. Okay, so this is an article that's going to be in one of your annotations in the future um, for the reproductive um, pathophysiology chapter. And this was published in I think 2022. So if you were to so this is sorry, I'm um, getting ahead of myself. Um, this is a narrative review. So the authors are looking at a lot of different literature on the topic of polycystic ovarian syndrome, and they're um, doing a thorough review of that literature, and then they're making conclusions from the literature they've reviewed. So the conclusions from that review about things like, let's see, we can go down to their results. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So all of these sections on like hypertension and pregnancy, preterm birth, they're essentially sort of summarizing what they learned from other literature. So in the case of a review article, whether it's a narrative review or a systematic review, in the case of a review article, their findings, their discoveries are what they gleaned from all of the articles they reviewed. So that is something you could cite from this article here.
So you would cite this article that you have pulled up, not necessarily. Okay. And
Yeah,
I think that's where I'm getting
yeah,
confused too, because
yes,
it's not necessarily in the background, it's in the actual meat of the papers.
yeah,
And so I'm having to dig. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, well, I dig to that paper, and then that paper is citing somewhere else too. So I'm digging further. It's like I'm
yeah,
just peeling off this onion, so I don't know how far down I need
yeah.
to go. And
But here in the introduction, where they're sort of just giving some more general information, where they're citing other authors. So the diagnosis of PCOS is currently based on the criteria of the Rotterdam Consensus Meeting in 2003. They cite a source for that. If that was a piece of information that you really wanted to include in your assignment, you would just find that citation five, I'm sorry, the reference entry for five, and then you would try to find that source. In this case, that's pretty old, so it might be a better idea to try to see if there's a more updated consensus workshop from this group. But if you found that they cited reference number two in the introduction about geographical prevalence of polycystic ovarian syndrome, and that's 2018, you could use that. You could go to that if that's the information you wanted to include. So just to recap, if it's a narrative review, if it's an integrative review, if it's a systematic review, if it's a meta-analysis, that's considered research. Um, and they're essentially going through a process of elimination, trying to find like articles that meet certain criteria that are on the topic. And then they're sort of like integrating the findings of those different articles in their sections, and those are their discoveries. So, yes, you can cite the authors of that systematic review for that information. But to attribute this sort of introductory material to these authors would be incorrect. You would want to go to the original article that they got their background information from, and then read that article and then cite it. Because believe it or not, sometimes even articles that are published in peer-reviewed journals might miscite something, like they might not characterize something correctly. And so it's always better to go to the primary source because you can read the full article and say, oh, I don't think that was their conclusion at all, or I don't think they actually discovered that or said that. Um, so that it's just the most um, well vetted information.
Thank you.
When it's a study, that's a lot clearer. You know, if it's a study, then you can look at their methods, you can look at their results. Um, the discussion will oftentimes intersperse other articles, other authors' findings. So it's mostly with a study, it's mostly going to be from the findings or the results section that you'll attribute as the primary source. Um, but again, yeah, you can use like 10 years as sort of the cutoff, 2016.
Thank you.
Obviously, you want to try for most of your articles to be more recent, but that I don't want you to keep digging and digging and digging and digging. Yeah, because I know you have lives.
You think you get to a certain point and you're like, yes, I found something that's good. And then you start looking at it and you're like, oh my goodness, I have to dig deep on
Yeah,
this. Where am
yeah,
I going on this one?
yeah. And it's the kind of the idea is when you're doing your project, you're going to be I don't know, some students in the master's program end up doing a thesis, and other students do a project where you do a paper as part of your project. That's where it's really important to know that your sources are primary because you want it to be just as high quality as possible, and as accurate as possible
That
to
makes sense.
because it's going to inform what you do with your project. So, um, so
Thank you.
that's what what else can I what other questions? Just trying to turn my heater off. It's getting a little too hot in here. Oh, where just real quick before you ask questions, Shay, where are you based?
In Asheville.
Oh, so you got Wallop too.
Yeah, I did.
Are you are
Back to
you
back.
are you snowed in or
Yeah, my husband, he's been like leaving out, but thankfully I'm a school nurse, so they've been remote learning.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
thankful for that.
yeah. Yeah, and I can work from home as well. So, and
Yeah.
we didn't get nearly as much snow as the rest of you all did, but
Good.
we got cold.
Yes. I saw in the forecast that tomorrow's calling for a little bit more
Oh,
snow.
yeah, but at least it's warmer.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, I interrupted you. You were going to ask a
Yeah, it's okay.
question.
I think my question kind of piggybacks off of Greta's because now that you explain that, it makes sense. But I was going to ask when you're asking for the direct links,
Mm.
um, does that mean like to the original sources or is the DOIs like not enough when you reference?
Yeah, so the DOI, sometimes that's tricky. Um, because sometimes when you do a search, you'll get a proxy DOI. It'll
Mm-hmm.
say like proxy. So you actually have to go find the full text article. And this may not be a good example. Oh, yeah. So you'll have to find the full text article and make sure that the DOI that you include in your uh, reference entry or that you put into, in the case of the voice thread where you just put it into the written comment, make sure it's coming from within the full text article because then that DOI should take me right to this article. Because otherwise, sometimes I'll just get the abstract
Mm-hmm.
and there'll be a paywall. And so then I have to copy and paste the title into like the library search to find the full text article. It just saves a few steps for me. And when I'm doing like 9 students who have between them like maybe 18 or more articles,
Yeah.
it gets a little bit unwieldy. And I mean, I like to spot check and make sure that that they actually are primary sources. Otherwise, I don't feel like I'm really benefiting your learning, So sometimes an article will just have a URL like an HTTPS, and that's okay if it doesn't have a DOI and it only has a URL like this right here. I don't know if that's actually going to take me to the article, but some articles will just have a URL. Then that's
Mm-hmm.
fine to use that instead of the DOI. But
Okay.
like if you go to, I don't know if I have anything pulled up, but I know sometimes when you look, like even when you do a search in the library, sometimes it'll take you, or Google Scholar, it'll take you to like EBSCO. And then EBSCO will have like a proxy DOI, but that DOI is going to only take the person who checks it. It's only going to take you to EBSCO and not to the full text article.
Okay.
Yeah. But again, if you're struggling to find the full text article, I'm happy to look it up, help you.
Okay.
Just shoot me an email.
Thank you.
Give me the title.
Thank you. I feel like with each assignment, you learn so much after reading the feedback.
Yeah, I'm cognizant of the fact that you all are doing another voice thread and I haven't gotten feedback to you yet. I did change, I don't know if you got my announcement, but because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't functional, I just decided to just do two posts, like one post in each, like in two different case studies. So
Okay.
for a total of two by next Monday. Um, so even if I don't get feedback to you in time for that, I'm going to be conscious of that you haven't had feedback. So I'm not going to penalize you if you did something the same and I didn't give you feedback.
Okay.
Just because all the all the delays and the ice and the snow and the having to switch my undergraduate class to Zoom today and give them an exam over Zoom.
Wow.
It took almost all of my day. And I was planning to grade and I was like, okay, so much for that. There went my day. So I can't guarantee that I'll have the hematology voice thread feedback by the time you want to submit because maybe it's better for you to submit tomorrow and not wait until Friday because you have too much work on
Yeah.
Friday or the weekend you've got a busy weekend with family stuff. So I'm not gonna penalize anyone for not integrating feedback that I didn't give you.
Yes.
That makes
If we aren't able to like do a separate question from each case study because it's already taken,
Mhm.
I know you said just do you want us to like piggyback off of another question like
You
that somebody's already taken, or how should we like handle that to get
you can. I've had students in the past where somebody has answered a question and maybe they answered it sufficiently, but there were other things that could have been covered.
Okay.
So you can, if you notice, oh, I think, they talked about this and this, but they didn't talk about this aspect. And it's something different and unique, and you use a scholarly source to support it. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely, you can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's
Or
another option?
another option would be for you to just look at the case study, and if something else occurs to you that wasn't asked, you can ask your own question. Like,
Okay.
this wasn't asked, so I'm going to answer this question. Like, here's a question I had, or here's a question I thought related, would be interesting for this case study, and then you answer it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The pathophysiology paper.
Hmm.
Do we need to set up a time or send you an email as to what we're thinking about reviewing, or how should
Yeah.
we?
You can just email me um, a topic. I've had a few students email me topics, and then I just write back and say, I think that's um, a really good topic, or I might say you might want to narrow it down a little bit. And then I ask you to think about sort of when that disease is being diagnosed, what are other diseases that might be in the list of the differential? Because you do need to pick a disease to compare in your paper. That's like one section of the paper. Um, so, but yeah, if you just email me your thoughts, I'm happy to respond just by email. If it feels like it's easier to just talk, I'm also happy to have a phone call or a Zoom.
And the guts of the paper has to be 10 pages, correct?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't include the title page or the reference pages. Yeah, probably just one reference page. Well, depends on how long the titles are and how many authors. But I think seven references should fit on a page generally. So, um,
I think that's all I had.
yeah.
That's for
Yeah.
today anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so yeah, my goal is to try to have like every couple of weeks have a group office hours, alternating. So we did Tuesday this week, so the next it'll be a couple of weeks from now on a Wednesday, and then I'll go back to Tuesday, Wednesday. But if you have a question or you feel like it would be easier to talk, I'm happy to meet with individual students other evenings or day during the day, whatever works best.
Thank you. That's very
Yeah,
helpful.
absolutely. Because I know asynchronous online class is it's hard to feel connected. So, so no barriers. I'm really happy. I truly am happy. If you if you wanted to talk like during the day, during a lunch break or something like that, I'm happy to do that as well. I take my lunch at all kinds of weird hours, so.
A true nurse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an old habit hard to give up, right? It's like, oh wait, I can actually get up and go to the restroom. I actually have time to go to the restroom. So,
Thank
but
you for meeting with us.
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. If you have any questions after that you think of, just send me an email and I'll be happy to respond. And I really like the way you all are using the Ask the Instructor because I think a lot of the questions that have been asked, most students probably have wondered the same thing. So it's nice when everybody can get the answer. So, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I hope you both have a good evening and get um, plowed out and dug out soon so you can get back to your regular lives. And
Yes.
I will hope to see you in a couple of weeks. And if not, take care and just be in touch on email.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a
All
great
right.
evening.
You too.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.